Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. Well, after this impressive presentation made by Jackson and Antonio about these electronic tools, it could happen that at the end of the day, the conveyancer, the expert, should need a kind of flesh and bone contact. I mean, I contact the machine, I contact the IT tools, but I need specific personal advice. I need a specific person, and that's the purpose of the network. Before starting to present the network, it is said in the program that comparative property rights in Europe, or well, I try to give you a reflection about, from my perspective, what is happening in Europe with property rights. As Mrs. Wallace said, it's true that union law has been developed very, very significantly in a lot of areas, but specifically property law has remained as a castle. And if we talk about property law on land, even more. But things have been changing in the last times, from my perspective. And to try to explain my point of view, I'm going to put a couple of examples. One is the succession regulation, and the other is the coming matrimonial property regime regulation. What do succession regulation approach regarding to transmission of property rights, including property rights on land? When you have a look at the scope of the regulation, it says this regulation deals with the transmission of property by means of succession. What is excluded is the nature of property rights and the registration. So the space for the castle is narrowing every time. The transmission of property will be dealt, the legal relationship and for the transmission of property will be dealt by the relevant applicable law. The same approach is followed by the matrimonial property regime regulation. This regulation, under the principle of unity of law, establishes that that applicable law will be the law applicable to the legal relation that produces the transmission of property. Obviously, still remains national property law there. For what purpose? For the nature of property rights, and for those cases where the legal relationship is not enough for transferring property right. National law introduces additional requirements. I have in mind the German system, for instance, where the transmission of ownership takes place with a contract, but then with an abstract agreement. So the contract, the legal relationship, under the regulation won't be enough for transferring ownership. So additional requirements should be needed. The abstract agreement to implement the effective transmission of ownership. But one thing is that I have to introduce the additional requirements needed, and another thing is I have to repeat, to duplicate the legal act. From my perspective, that is the European approach to this. We are in a step-by-step approach. A question was posed by my colleague from the SNUE about whether it is possible to process a deed from Spain to the Netherlands. No. Why? Because CROBECO respects national legislation, and Dutch legislation does not allow it. Not for the moment. We need on this a long-distance view. As Mrs. Wallace said before, 20 years ago, all these things we are talking about were just unthinkable. We must take quite an historic approach about this. And for the moment, it's not possible. I'm sure in the midterm it will be. We are setting the grounds for that now. One of them is, as I said, the area network. The area network is an initiative promoted by ELRA. ELRA itself is a network. It's the most significant, the largest land registry organization in Europe. It comprises, at the moment, I think, 30 land registry organizations and professional associations, representing, I think, 23 member states. But we wanted to go even farther. We wanted to establish a stable framework of assistance. We want to be present in the development of the European space as land registry organizations. We are very much aware that land registry issues still remain, as I said before, under national law. And a specific knowledge and expertise about land registration law is needed to build the European space. And we want to be there, in a place where everybody can easily find us, to help professionals, authorities, to process their decisions, their acts, the documents through the land registry. That's part of our task. And as part of our duties to contribute to build this European space. This is one of the initiatives, the European Land Registry Network. So what we decided is, let us take, because we are acting within the European civil justice space, let us take from the land registry organizations the legal departments. All land registry organizations have a legal department, have legal experts. You can call it registrars, you can call it assistants, you can call it whatever you want, but there's always a legal department because land registry is a legal institution. The purpose of land registry is deliver legal certainty. By the way, basic to build an internal market. If I have reliable legal information about property rights backed by the state guarantee, I don't need to investigate in a foreign legal system. It would be simple just to check. So there's always legal departments, there's always legal experts. Let us take this legal expert from the different organizations and build an assistant network and put it in a visible place. For the moment, this is the visible place. The aim is for us to be, because we are land registry official organizations, to be within the justice portal. That's our aim. But that will be for the member states to decide. For the moment, the network is in the ELRA website. And to be no less than my colleagues, I'm going to make a live demonstration. We click on here. I think I have clicked. And here it is. I don't know if it is clear, but you can see in the map how many members do we have in the network. So there's still some members missing. Some of them are present here, our colleagues from Austria. I encourage them to join the initiative, obviously. And for the moment, what we have here, basically the network has followed the same path as the European Judicial Network. Has a public area devoted to citizens and a private area for registers. We provide, let's say, 3 levels of assistance. First level of assistance for citizens is what we call the reference information. Reference information has been developed by the experts of the land registry organizations. We have cooperated with Julis to develop this reference information and also a glossary. And that will be the kind of assistance we will provide directly to citizens. It will be also a different level of assistance, but will be only provided through an internal area of the network, what we call the cooperation request. We will go further on that. Let us have a short look what has been already done, which is the reference information. we will try to explain the main issues regarding land registration in a, what says the decision, a journalist language. We will try to do so. It's very difficult, but we are trying to do so. And we're trying to explain basically the most tough issues regarding land registration. The first topic we developed that was needed because that was part of the cooperation with Julius. We had to explain the information delivered by the system is what we call the land registry publicity. And I like to talk about publicity and not about land registry information, because land registry information is not just information, it's legal information. It's information with legal value. It constitutes proofs before courts about property rights. So it's not any kind of information, it's publicity, it's legal information. And then you have how to get information, what is the content of the information, and the legal effect of the information. For instance, you click on any of these topics, and there you have the countries, Scotland for instance, and then you have an explanation trying to be clear and simple about what is the content, what can you find in the information delivered by the system. Ownership, mortgages, burdens. What we will try to do, because the aim of this reference information is to describe the system by issuing different levels of information. So probably in the coming years, because my idea is that this is a permanent action, is that perhaps in 1 or 2 years we will develop a specific fact sheet about mortgages. So you will be able to click on mortgages and you have extended information. And that's the idea, to offer different levels of information from different institutions. And then finally, I want to show you what is what I call the second level of assistance, cooperation request. The idea is that this is a restricted area, an internal area, devoted only to registrars in a first stage. The purpose is, this is a tool for cooperation between registrars from the different member states. When a registrar receives, a land registry organization receives a document coming from another country, he may have doubts about whether the authenticity of the document itself or the content of the applicable law or the legal relationship with that. There's a first stage of cooperation, which is a contact to my colleague, my registrar colleague from another member state, who can either facilitate the contact to the issuing authority, and this links very much with a proposal that has just been published last month by the Commission, the Free Movement of Documents Initiative, where abolishing of legalization or apostille or any other formality will be needed. So, well, that should be a subject for tomorrow, but very briefly, what does that mean, this initiative? That means that all kinds of documents are going to circulate without any kind of legalization. For us, people from the land registry, that's a bit terrifying, because we produce legal effects to those documents. Under our liability, we provide legal effects to the information coming from those documents. We need to be sure that these documents are authentic documents. So how to handle this proposal? The proposal does not aim to lower the degree of certainty in the European space. What the aim of the proposal is to put the burden from the citizen to the authorities. So if I have doubts, I will be able to check, but I don't put the burden on the citizen. It will be my task as an authority to contact the issuing authority and check whether this is an authentic document or not. That could be one of the functionalities of this network. The second, obviously, is ask for legal advice about a foreign system. That's obvious. In a second stage, this network will be open also for European authorities and legal professionals. And this is where the initiative links to CROBECO, and that's why I'm here. The idea is that when someone is going to produce a relevant document, a decision, a deed, and have doubts about what is the information that he needs, about the proper understanding of the information he has in front of him, he will always have the chance to send a specific consultation to the National Land Registry Organization where this document is devoted to go to, and have personal legal advice. And for me that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Are there any questions?
Questions.
So?
No question, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.